Welcome in, everyone. We're gonna do our weekly live flow and charts here. So this will be for the week of December 18th to the 22nd, and this video is being recorded on 12/16/2023. You can see that down here. So this week we have Palantir, Alcoa, Oracle, T-Mobile, and AMC to go over. So good list again. So let's get started here. We're gonna go through the flow, do some charting, and I'm gonna show everybody some tips and tricks also with unusual whales that a lot of people don't know that you can do. So kind of dive into that. And also, before I start, I just want to let everybody know again, this is not financial advice at all. These are just kind of ideas that I'm seeing. And also, if you are interested in trying unusual whales, I will leave a discount code below, and also my link to my Discord as well. So let's get started here. And again, I already pulled the flow, so I do have a video on how to do that. Again, I like to touch on that in every video because there's a lot of new people every week. So feel free to search through my channel. I do have that, or if not, I'll tag it in the video as well. But let's get started here. So Palantir is up first. So here is Palantir. So there's a couple of these with bad flow, which I do want to kind of show everybody what, like, some confusing flow, I would say, not unnecessary or necessarily bad flow, but flow that I'd try to stay away from. But with combining it with other flow as well, you can kind of, we'll see. We'll dive into it. So here's Palantir. So we have two flow alerts here on Palantir, and again, these came in on Friday. So our first one here is a repeated hits with ascending fill here on the 12/22/19 call. So these are weeklies, and this is 5% out of the money. Nice total premium here. Good size there. 53.62 contracts traded. So let us take a peek. And also, for those that are a little newer too, if you do get confused on what repeated hits or repeating hits with ascending fill are, you can always come up here in the rules as well. Gives a breakdown of everything and gives you an explanation on everything and kind of some technical details down there. So back to the flow alerts. So here is our first one, and just easily click on the date, and you can see, should go back one more time. So time it came in, and I'm Central Time, so this is 2:44 here in the afternoon. So clicking on that, you can see this whale entry right here as well. So see that right at the top, it comes in that 2:40 to 2:45 p.m. range, and you can see it's a bunch of ask side calls, and looks like we had some other ask side calls earlier. And the nice thing here is you can always just click on the candle as well, and it'll pull up all the flow, and there are all your repeated hits, and you can see it all came in same down to the same second. So that is the, and there's some of the bigger contracts being traded there as well. So one thing I like to do, let me exit out of that. So a couple things you can do. So what I like to do in the morning as well is always check that open interest and volume. Two ways you can save these contracts, and I'll show both ways that I like to do. So first, we'll start with this way. Go back into that candle there. Very simple and easy. And you can pick anything from that flow alert. It doesn't matter. You could just probably pick any contract as well. If you just throw a heart on it, and let's say in the morning where you want to check your open interest, you just come up to this little My Trades area, and here you go. They will all be saved in here. So I'm going to save some of these from the video, and then I'll just show everybody at the end and kind of what it looks like. So, and another way to also do it, let me go back to the flow alerts here. You can always, if you right click on here, which a lot of people don't know, you can always add your contract to your lookup area. So if you add it into the lookup there, you come up here, and here is your contract lookup. Everything will pop right up there on the side. So I'm going to do this for a couple of these and kind of show everybody what it looks like at the end as well. So get out of that. So here's your Palantir, and this is the overall here. So I kind of like to look at that bull volume and bear volume, so pretty mixed here. So moving back, so this is what I would consider good flow. You can see it's a clean entry, I would say. 2 clean entries here. I mean, this didn't show up as a flow alert, but a nice amount of ask side calls being traded there. So, but this is your whale right here. So now an example of some bad flow that I wouldn't like. So we have these repeated hits here. You look at the 119s. So here is, should show everybody the time. So this is 12:05 Central Time. So here's your whale, 12:05 Central Time. And you can see a bunch of bid side calls here. So we don't know if this is a different whale or whatnot, but to me, this is too messy a flow. I don't like something like this. And even if you bump back, let's just say 7 days, very hard to tell if this big bid side area is what's going on there. So like this isn't clean flow. This is, I would if this was by itself, I would not consider this as a trade idea, but we have 2 ask side calls there. So now let's pull up the chart for Palantir. And actually, so another thing I do kind of like to do as well, kind of look at that overall flow with everything. So another thing you can do with unusual whales, you can create watch lists. So like I'll have one for like my flow alerts, so everything I'm doing now, then I have one for like day trades. So like if you come in here, just you click, I'll swap from that one just so everybody can kind of see what it does. But you'll notice it loads here, like all my filters for this I leave pretty much open, different premium, different days to expiration, pretty simple filters here. So now let's look at the flow alerts one. So click here, and you look, come down here. So I have a different premium here, different days to expiration, and pretty much the same stuff in here. I mean, I keep it pretty simple. So Palantir, this is just that overall flow here. So this would be 50,000 to 60 days out. Some bid side calls, and actually I leave my days open, but it's being filmed on a weekend. So, and if you really wanted, you can always come down here and hide those as well. So you could hide expired there. So, I mean, I would say seeing a lot of bid side calls here. This floor trade does look, or the bid side floor trade here, I mean, kind of see that. Not the best flow, so I wouldn't be too aggressive on a trade idea like, on a trade idea like this. So back to the flow alerts here. Now let's take a look at the chart. So here is our uptrend here. So and again, kind of want to show everybody. So there's a lot of new traders out there too. Very simple trend line. I mean, doesn't have to be 100% accurate. Everybody's going to draw them a little different. But I pretty much try to get as close to the outside of, I would say, these candles as possible. Just to, you don't want to make a trend line like that where you have something way below. You try to get as close. You try to line that up pretty as close as you can without getting too many candles in that. So that would be your trend line, and I'm going to drop because that's my entry there. So kind of look in here, you're following that trend line. We're hanging out on that 50-day moving average there. 200 starting to come up as well. Seeing a little more volume here. A lot of volume on that on Friday. See how that looked though. So Friday. Oops. So let's see more volume on that sell off. And this is something, I mean, I'll do obviously when I'm giving out trade ideas, kind of seeing what that price action's like. That was a pretty heavy volume there. Then we kind of decreased on volume. So let's keep looking here. So, okay, yep. like this is something that sticks out to me as, hey, maybe the sell off wasn't super necessary. This big candle at open, green, and then had a little sell off volume here, and then pretty light below that moving average volume there. So then we picked up here at the end. So kind of chilling around that 50-day, it looks like. But let me bump this out to the day chart again. So yeah, this is something, I mean, when you're more advanced, I would say looking at volume and kind of seeing how these sell offs and buy ins and all that are, um, how much volume there is and all that. So here's our trend line, and these are for their weekly calls on the bad flow or not recognizable flow, I would say. And the 119 call is a little further out. So this is something, and of course, and Unusual Whales does have a charting system built in. I dig into the earnings obviously more just because I'm giving out ideas. If you're not digging into earnings, you can use Unusual Whales as a charting system. It's very simple. I do have a video on that as well also. Um, so back to the earnings. So beat earnings by 23%, slightly beat revenue by almost 0.5%. So their fundamentals, I mean, just at a quick glance, obviously not diving into the full financial reports and all that, they beat earnings, beat revenue. That's good. So with this being, so the whale has that open position. So there's one short term whale and a little more, I'd say, medium long term whale. So Palantir is a slower mover for a lot of those. So I would look for an entry. I'm sorry, I do have it written out here as well. Just the thing that I put on Twitter that everybody sees, I just have it written out here. Just some quick, easy notes. I mean, this is how, again, I like to put everything out. So I am just kind of looking at my notes as well. Not cheating or anything, but so contract wise. So let's look at Palantir. So Palantir. So it was a 1229 and 119. So I immediately would go to the 119s. So again, first thing I always look at, that open interest. You want to see a lot of contracts open, because if you get a chain that is, let's just go something far like this, you are going to have horrendous spreads like this, and you're going to have a very, very hard time selling those contracts. So keep that in mind. I always look for good liquidity on those chains. So we are looking at the 119s. So again, any of these are good. Palantir's a slower mover, so let me get my entry back here, and then I'll show everybody the proper contract. So I have about an entry about this at the uptrend here. I need to redo this a little bit. Just try to get as much of that as possible without going too far out, too far in. So I like, when we were looking at the day chart, so you can see good support here, coming across here, and looks like we're testing that right at that uptrend. So very simple line here. I like, and the overall markets obviously can see. I'm just gonna pull up SPY quick. We've been on a haul all the way up, so I try to kind of match everything up with the market as much as possible, kind of what I think is going to happen. So I almost like an entry here at probably come in here at 17. I have 1732 marked, so I got it right there. So that's cent off. So yep. Again, you can see there's been good support there. Buying, haven't really close below that, and this is the trend line. You can see support, support, support. Coming back here. Below this support here. Support there, support there. So, and again, just because you're at a support level or a resistance level doesn't mean the stock's gonna fall or drop. And let me look, and just keep in mind too, like we had that short-term whale that potentially had short-term interest in this, so probably expecting a quicker move as well. Well, let's look at the 4-hour chart here. So like, again, good support there. Support, support, support. Support there, failed there. So that is your overall 4-hour chart there. And for those, I mean, nice possible little cup and handle here as well too. So back to the day chart. So we are looking for an entry at 1732. So 1732, this is a slower mover. I'd obviously like that 17 or 18 call. A couple of reasons why. You have that good delta, you want a delta, so every dollar that Palantir moves, your contract would move roughly 70, and this increases and decreases, and your theta is less aggressive as well. So that is Palantir. We would look for the 119, 17 or 18 call, whatever's easier, even if you want to go deeper in the money. So that is Palantir. Let's move on to Alcoa now. So here is Alcoa. So we have we have a repeated hit, and then we have a floor cap, or a floor trader on a mid cap. So looking at number one, again, 4% in the money, pretty good size, good premium. So let's look at the contract. And I keep forgetting to show everybody the time. So 1441. Pull this up. Let me bump this back down to the 1 day. So here is your 14. Did I say what? 14. Okay, 1441. Okay, that's the last one, I promise. So here's your whale actually in here, and right before that, another huge ask side candle coming in. We can see a lot of ask side hits. So have that. That is not our whale, so this is our whale. Excuse me there. So we have good ask side flow, and again, you can see it's clean flow as well. A lot of ask side here. Not a lot of bid side. Do have a lot of open interest on this one, so kind of want to see how much of that volume carries over. And again, by clicking on any of these, we will just grab this one, close that out, and the other way, you can just right click, add your contract to the lookup. Oh man, grabbing some water here quick. All right, so this next one, so this is a floor trade on the mid cap, so 13 days, so 1229. So this is flow again. I would not use if it was alone. We have identical bid side and ask side volume, so could be some sort of spread. We don't know. Well, timing's different, so not the spread, but we got confusing flow. And if you go out, we don't know what it could be, because could it be this whale taking some profits and reopening? We 100% don't know. So then just kind of looking at the bear bull volume, would lean bullish on this one. But so let's go back to the 1 day. So here is that whale. And do we add that to the contract lookup? Well, we added that one. So okay, so this would be a nice example of flow I wouldn't use by itself, but again, combining it with this other ask side flow that came pretty close to close, can assume that this is a bullish trade. And looking at the overall flow for Alcoa, so pretty okay. So we got another ask side there for 34 days also. You see that flow, and again, sometimes you do gotta mess around with the premiums. So depending on how the market cap and all that is, I mean, if it's a smaller market cap, you don't want to. You have to learn all the filter. I do have another video as well on teaching that. So, but here is that. It looks like we have a roll here, and again, you just click on that as well, and it will probably tell you the possibly related multi-leg trades. Come down here and show you some of the strategies that could be possibly being used, and you can always, if you do that as well, you can always pop up that profit loss calculator and come down here and you can kind of see what that idea for that whale is. So like this spread, not something if flow is not clear to me, I kind of ignore it. So close out of that. And again, this is in the overall flow, so looks good. There's that flow alert. So flow checks out there, and looking at the chart, so I'm on the day chart here, so kind of an interesting chart. I mean, this has been around for a long time, so going back to, let's see, I think we go back to the 80s, 70s, so 60s. So yeah, I mean, this has been around forever. Obviously, it's a mineral company. So, and just kind of looking at the chart here, obviously you can see we're kind of down here at a really low end. So I mean, this would be almost a good spot for long-term people as well, just based off charts, not fundamentals, not diving into that in here, but just chart-wise, we're coming into good support. So looking at this, and we're on the week chart right now. Palantir was done on the day chart. Everything's pretty much done on the day chart. So you can see we have a nice little channel here. Channel being formed in here. That's a downtrend there, and this would be your little channel, whatever you want to call it. So a couple things that stick out to me right away. Look at the volume on this weekly candle. Buyer stepped in, as most people call it, just clicking all over. So buyer stepped in. That was a strong week. Obviously, there's stuff with news about potential rate cuts and all that stuff going on. I'm not going to dive super deep into that here, but macros do matter for stocks, obviously. So again, here's your channel. Again, a little on the day view. So a couple things here. Obviously, your last 3 sessions. These volume candles are massive. The buying is heavy. And you can see, obviously, bounced off that downtrend back to July here, July 22nd. So the thing that for hardcore technical analysis, so we're bouncing that 200 rejected pretty hard, it looks like. So again, that's not the best, but see how we rejected off that volume wise. No, we're not. So more volume in the middle of the day there. Looks like buying volume pretty match that selling, so not too bad. So go back out to the day chart. So again, rejected that on the daily, but still have that 50-day starting to move up. And so looking at their earnings, so missed their earnings by 8%, beat by revenue by over 0.5%, 0.65%. So couple ways. So with the flow here, so you can see, so 34 days, I would consider this kind of a longer trade there. So they're a little more longer term there. So I'd almost wait for a gap fill here because now we have this gap. So I would probably, and kind of digging in here on the chart as well, pull out. So here's your gap fill, about 2609 it looks like. 2609, 2612. Let me pull it up a little bit. So 2607 looks like your gap fill. I would, because I like this area where we saw buying pressure there, and volume a little lighter over the last couple days, but we obviously seen volume pick up the last couple days. So I like this spot at. So you want that gap. I want that gap filled, but I don't want to miss the trade if that makes sense. So I would almost go with 2612 here, and this is a slower mover. And I'm gonna bump this down to the 4-hour chart too. So good buy spot there. That would be our gap fill. So good, looks like a good area where price gets bought up. So bump down to the 2 and check there. And again, you can kind of check whatever time frame you want. It just depends how deep you want to go, how accurate of an entry you want to get. So again, see good buying volume there as well. So go back to the daily. So I'm looking at that 2613 spot. So let's see. Let's look at the contracts here. So we're looking at Alcoa. So I would look, and where is my, so 119. So let's look at those. So we have good open interest here, and we said our entry was going to be 2617. So I would probably look at those 28 calls. You have good open interest there as well. So 2612 was our entry. So I would also, I need to go back and do this for Palantir as well. So I would give this, since that whale was kind of more short term, medium term-ish, I would give this about 1 or 2 sessions to trigger, barring any like run up to the upside here. Like if you see a 2% move up, done, because this whale's expecting a shorter term move, and that's probably the move. So Alcoa here, so that whale's more long term. I'd wait for this gap fill at 2613, and then I would target these 119.28s. And I would probably give this one, let me pull up the chart one more time. So this is going to be obviously probably make or break, but I would probably give this maybe 3 or 4 sessions to trigger here. I want to see that gap fill. I don't want to see chop. I don't want to see a nice big run up to the upside here. So keep that in mind. So I'd say 3-4 sessions on this one. And moving on, we have Oracle now. And Oracle just had earnings. So here are our alerts on Oracle. We have a bunch of 119, 24, 105 calls there. And then we have a 105, 105 call. So let's look at these 105, 119s first. So pulling this one up, this flow is, I would say, a little more it takes a little more advanced reader to kind of get this, because you want to match up the times. You have your different times here. This is all the same contract, but we're coming in about 13:30, so 1:30, 1:45, and about 2:30. So here is our, we said 1:30s, so 1:30 here, 1:40, 1:45, and then we had a 3 at 2, so I would assume it's these three here. So you can see that good flow coming in here towards the end of the day. The best thing to do is obviously check in the next morning, see how much of that volume carries over into open interest. So Monday morning, once we'll come in here and actually favorite one of the contracts again. So again, just easy as that. Come in here, make sure you're hitting that ask side one, so you can get any of these and it'll still show that full chain. You don't need to hit that flow alert. Like, you don't have to go to the one that has that. That's just a nice indicator to tell you that, hey, this is a flow alert. You can click this and look at it too if you want, and it'll pull it up. So coming out of there, close that now. So we're back here. Let's look at that bearish bull. So more bullish than bearish volume there. So exit out of that guy, and let's look at the 105 call. And this one again came in 11:17. So here is the entry. Seeing some ask side volume here, not a lot of bid side. Obviously, you can see that up here as well, ask side and then bid side. And then again, obviously in the morning, check your open interest. Look at that. And I don't know why I looked at that. It's the same. This is just the overall stock there. So let us do, I'm just going to do this for these two. So we'll look at the trades there at the end. We're just going to keep going. So looking at the chart now, or nope, let's look at the overall flow. And my internet is very slow. They do not offer good internet by me, so that sucks. So here's your overall flow on Oracle. Seeing a lot of ask side calls here throughout the day. So now looking at the chart, so Oracle here. So Oracle just had earnings. They beat earnings, slightly missed on revenue there by almost 1%. So a couple ways, or a couple things on this chart. So here is your trend line here, your little uptrend there on the stock. And actually, I'll redraw that. So your uptrend here, I like being a little more lenient there. So obviously you can see broke below that uptrend on the earnings report. So we have broken down. So if you kind of draw this little channel here, so I'm just trying to get this little possible channel thing that's forming here. So bring this down a little bit, probably bring it down a little bit more. So now you can also see this would be kind of, I would say, supply zone possibly. Here it'd be your resistance because it dropped last time. Here it'd be support, obviously went up there. So obviously a big area for the stock. So kind of, I would consider this maybe a demand zone possibly, depending on what it does here. So I would look for an entry. Let me look at that flow. So a little longer time frame on those. So I would probably take that entry at the bottom of this supply area, and this would also be, if we could get down to 96.12ish there, this would be the bottom of this, and looks like we would test this trend line too. So we could maybe see a sideways bounce, go up or go down. Kind of sounds fruish, but or whatever they call those fake people that say everything's up, everything's down, whatever. So went off on a little tangent there. So I would, yeah, probably look for the entry here on that trend line test and looking at their earnings. So Discord, I'm gonna start attaching the earnings reports that I do breakdowns on to these trades, just so you can go kind of reference the earnings, see how the earnings did, how in your eyes and all that. So Oracle earnings are there, so I'm not going to dive too deep into that in the public part. So this whale's a little longer term on the contracts. I want that discounted entry, and I would give this about 4 or 5 sessions to trigger, obviously, again, barring a big move to the upside, which we do have this gap as well here now. So yeah, about 3-4 sessions, or no, 4-5, just whatever to get down here. These weekly trade ideas, I would say they're probably good max for a week for a setup. So because you're gonna see that move before then, more than likely. So contract wise, Oracle, and we are looking at the, let's see how the 119 chains look. So 119 chains are good. So I would look with our entry at, we'll say 96.18. 96.18, I would look for, so the 119.24s, I would look probably, depending on how pricey they are and all that, I would either probably look for that 97.5 or 100. And again, a couple of reasons why. You want that strong delta, that weak theta. Theta, how fast your contract decreases, so you're losing 2 cents a day off your contract, which is nothing. The further you go out, the higher theta can be. Not really on these ones yet, but theta will pick up as they get closer to expiration. So contracts there. So moving on now, we have T-Mobile. So TMUS. So this one we have a repeated hit on the 119.24 150 puts. So looking at that here, again, clean flow, some bid side stuff early, nothing major, and then your big ask side whale. So you can obviously see this is not super heavily traded, so kind of easy to track how much of that volume will carry over. So I'm not going to show anybody how to save the contracts again. Looking at that bull bear volume, a little more bearish volume on T-Mobile. So we contract there. Let's look at that overall flow quick. So it's 20,000, 60 days. Looks pretty bearish just off without digging in. And let's look at the chart. So, oops. So this is going to be a little, I'd say, harder of a chart to read, just because where we are right now on T-Mobile, we're near all-time highs right now. Right on that, I just came off that at 161.22. So it could be forming, kind of almost looks like we could be forming this new little channel up here. We came close to testing it there, but failed, and could be a lower low there, or lower high, or lower low, whatever trend. this is technically a higher high, but ignore that last 5 seconds. So let's see, earnings. So beat on earnings, missed on revenue. So mixed just based off that. Good things of the chart, though, obviously that 50-day and that 200 are starting to curl up. Volume wise, seeing some good selling there. Good selling there. Let's check it on the 4-hour quick. So that selling volume was pretty good most of the day, but then buyers stepped in towards the end of the day, dig down a little bit more. So let's see. So okay, so yeah, that 1 hour was huge, but then this one. So okay, pretty good volume. So back to the 1 day. So with this one, I would want to wait. So the whale is 34 days out, so again, a little longer. So we're kind of almost in like a no man's land right now. So I would want to be a little more patient on this one. Kind of want an entry towards the top of this, possibly, to see if we can get over that or not. So what is this, about kind of depending on 166, 63-ish, 62-ish. I keep right clicking. So we'll say 166.73. Now let's look at the contracts quick. TMUS. And he is so 119.34 days out. So 34, let's see. Decent open interest. So if we're looking for that entry about 166.73, I'd, depending on when we trigger, and I'd look for this one maybe till the end of the week. Probably look at that 160 put. Let's see our delta. 72, yeah, delta theta is good on that one. So I'd give that till the end of the week for T-Mobile. So on to our last one. This will be a pretty quick one, because I can go through the charting really quick and kind of just the overall stuff on that. So AMC, we have repeated hits on the 119.8 call. Interesting because huge premium it's 20% out of the money, so that really sticks to me with that much premium, and just kind of with everything that goes on with AMC stock, with how volatile it can be. Very interesting flow to me. So let's look at that here, and one more time take a peek at what time it came in. So 8:51 early in the morning, so all of these came in pretty close to the morning. So very easy flow to read here. Mostly ask side volume, barely any bid side. There's your whale. Can see the volume, how many contracts did this guy buy actually. So 2070.64, so 2,764. You can see more than likely a lot of these will probably carry over. We'll see Monday morning. Just kind of based off that one trade, it'd have to be almost 5,000 for them to be out. And you can see there's not a lot coming out. Looking at that bull bear flow, pretty mixed, I'd say. Pretty even, maybe leaning a little more bearish, but let's see what happens with that. So that is that 8 call. So the other flow here, again, clean flow, can see the entry, more than likely not getting out of there, and kind of ask side volume, bid side there as well. and that is the flow there for that. So that's both in that one. And look at just the overall AMC flow. That's all we got. That came in, so the flow alert's there, and then some bid side put stuff, some other multi-leg stuff here. So that's the flow for that. AMC, obviously the chart is not the prettiest, but can see we're pretty much at all-time lows. And earnings beat earnings 131%. Obviously, kind of dig into why the earnings happened. I have it broken down as well on Discord. So revenue here beat by 10%. So that short, what was that? So 34 days. So there's a long-term whale and a short-term whale. So AMC, so this I would consider a high-risk idea. I would treat this as just 100% a gamble because meme stocks are very, very, very hard to predict. But I would probably, let me pull up the contracts there. So AMC. So I would probably, what are we at, 665? I would, if I was to pick anything, I would probably go in the money just because you want that higher delta again to theta. This is an extremely slow mover, so you could either do this underlying too, but I would probably just go with options here and treat this as a total loss before, just because AMC is very volatile. Don't really know what's going to happen. So I'd probably go with that. Entry, pull up the chart one more time. I would, you could just throw a gamble on now. So otherwise, coming to the end of the video here. So one more thing, just kind of looking at next week, little quieter week. Building permits, housing starts, consumer confidence in here. GDP on Thursday, our jobless claims data, and Friday we have PCE. So kind of a heavier week. Obviously, I'll touch on this more in Discord. So, but otherwise, that's all I have for everybody. Trade smart. Again, not financial advice. Please always do your own due diligence. And yeah, that's all I got. Everybody have a great night.